Welcome to Reaching Up, where our goal is to help you to know better, do better, and ultimately live better. Today we have a great show in store for you, and we'll be discussing understanding the process in becoming an international student. Every year, more than 97,000 students leave their hometown with the goal of becoming an international student and enjoying the luxury of success at a U.S. institution. However, one of the startling facts is only 10% of those students will succeed. 15% will run out of cash, and 30% will sadly quit school and stay at home, enjoying a low-paying job and losing out on their piece of the American dream. Today I have in studio with me Mr. Peter Ogbon, who is the International Student Advisor at Howard University, and we're going to discuss how do you learn to navigate this maze. How can you walk through becoming one of the 10% who enjoy success as an international student? Good afternoon, Mr. Ogbon.
Thank you very much. Nice to have me here.
I want you to just share with me one of the great things in understanding the process in becoming an international student.
Actually, it's a very, very simple process. It starts from your secondary school, preparing yourself academically, making sure that you have very, very good grades. In West Africa, where I come from in particular, we have what is called WAEC, West African School Certificate Examination.
Okay.
That's what that stands for. You make sure that you have very good grades. If you are coming to the United States, of course, nowadays particularly, they require you to take the TOEFL, the TOEFL examination, that is test of English as a foreign language. There is also the requirement that you take a SAT examination, which is Scholastic Aptitude Test. Now, having taken those, you pick up the application to any of the institutions you want to study in the United States, fill out the applications or application, and there's usually an application fee. At Howard University, where I work, it is $45. And having sent in all those documents, normally they are very efficient. All the schools, as a matter of fact, they will tell you step by step what else you need to submit, whether or not you have completed your file. When the admission is processed, if you are accepted, you will be informed promptly. And if otherwise, of course, you'll get a letter of denial. So in all, it's a very simple process.
So it's not a big maze as some people make it out to be.
Absolutely not.
So what I wanted you to do is help us to get through the steps. We're going to go through it step by step so people can understand what it is that makes you to move from being a student to becoming an international student. And apparently there seems to be a process instead of an event. So it's not one day you show up and become an international student. You have to go through a series of steps.
Yes.
And who do you consider the ideal college-bound candidate?
Well, that is difficult to answer, but I will suppose that it will have to do with somebody who has a sense of seriousness of purpose, who is determined. By the way, what I just described a moment ago, I did not go to the visa aspect of things. I don't know whether
we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Okay. So basically, those kids who come here or students who come here that are very determined, that are very serious, they're the ones that I call students.
And since we're talking about students, what would you say are their priorities? How would you help to define, what are the priorities of a student, somebody when they approach your office or the office of an international student advisor? What would you say are their priorities from the time you see them writing their application or going? Where do you see someone, or how do you help someone to understand, this person is a college-bound person? Because I can read in what they've put together that these characteristics make up that person. How could you help me to see that?
Well, that is, you determine that by the nature of the person, the kind of questions they ask. Sometimes it may just well be the area of specialization. The courses they take, how they attend classes. Those are the things that make you determine that kind of stuff.
So basically we are saying, look, when you're becoming an international student or when you wanted to be a student at a U.S. institution, define your priorities in the way you ask questions,
Exactly.
in the way you present yourself, because I imagine your office receives thousands of email on a daily basis.
All the time.
And what are the three most important questions when you see, you would say, okay, this person seems as though they've gotten their act together?
Basically, it will have to do with those who have actually applied.
Okay.
And you have persistent, constant callings and writings, emails, and all kinds of stuff. They want to know where is my application, and where is the I-20, and all kinds of stuff. You just can tell this one is really interested
serious.
and ready to come, determined.
So it's not a person who's just, like a fly-by-night.
Exactly,
Oh,
just put in
I
the
just want to
application
know
and
if
forget
it's a
about
nice school
everything.
and if, yeah.
Yes.
So let's talk about the application now.
Yes.
I think that's where we take second step. So the first thing is understanding your priorities. The second thing, now we deal with this application.
Yes.
What are the basic steps in the application for a student?
The basic steps is filling out the application properly.
Okay.
No, everything has to be truthfully indicated or reflected. Once the application is completed, you need to submit it with all the documentations that you consider qualify you for acceptance.
What would you consider those documentations to be?
Well, normally, as a foreign student, you are supposed to attach a financial statement.
A financial statement.
Which is an amount at least equal to or above the tuition that the school will require of you for a year.
Okay.
Okay. You will have to attach to that paper your statements of results from your secondary school, as the case may be. Whenever you go beyond the secondary school, of course, you are considered no longer as a first-time in college person. You will now apply as a transfer student.
Okay, so you can apply either as a first-time student or as a transfer student.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Yes, yes. So the difference, though, is as a first-time student, you have more likelihood to get scholarships than those transfer students. Transfer students do get scholarships, but it's usually not something very much to write home about.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Now, how long time should one give themselves with this process?
It depends on where the student comes from. If it's a student who is waiting to have the result of his or her examinations, I would suppose that it's time to apply, so that as soon as the results are out, you send out the transcripts.
Okay. I'm from Guyana, South America, and the students, upon completion exam, they write what we call the Caribbean Examination, CXC, Caribbean Examination Council Examination. I think they recently changed the name to Caribbean Secondary School Examination Council.
Yes.
But I'm asking that to say this. You note from West Africa, where you're from, there is an examination that they take.
Yes.
I have pointed out, in my case, in the Caribbean, there's an examination that is taken too. From the time you write the exam, you're saying that should be an ideal time for you to start putting together your application.
Exactly.
So let's say your examination results take 3 months, 6 months, however long, your application by that time would have been completed.
Yes.
What are the key things you wanted to see before you have the results?
We would like to see the application, of course, properly completed. We would like to see that this student, upon arrival in the United States, is capable of financially taking care of himself, because the country, i.e. the United States government, does not want you to come here and become a public liability.
What about recommendations?
Recommendations are usually a part of most of the applications. Do have all the requirements and all the necessary documentation that you are supposed to attach. And obviously, recommendations is one of them.
Would it be wrong to leave an area blank if I don't have the information?
Yes, I think you should fill the application completely. Yes, because sometimes it can be taken otherwise.
And there's no way for me to leave something out and write like NA, not applicable.
Well, there may be situations where it's not applicable. If you were asked a question on that same application as to whether or not you're an American citizen,
Okay.
you could say not applicable. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about, you know the student need to show their financial viability.
Yes.
The ability to take care of themselves at least 1 year. If I can't fully cover 1 year tuition, is it possible for me to apply for scholarships that can help me to cover a portion of that?
Absolutely. We have, at Howard University in particular, where I work, a substantial number of foreign students that come to Howard get scholarships. It's a function of how well you did in your secondary school results and the SAT.
Okay.
Certain scores will automatically give you all kinds. There are different levels of scholarship awards.
Have you ever seen a student gotten full tuition pay?
All the time, all the time.
So it doesn't matter if I don't have a lot of money from my parents back home, I could apply to a school like Howard or other schools
and come here and study from, what will I say, from undergraduate all the way to medical school, law school, and anywhere. It's all a function of your academic abilities.
Wow. So if you're looking at this show and you're in Egypt, you're in Ethiopia, you're in Eritrea, it doesn't matter your financial position.
Not at all.
You heard this is the advisor. In fact, one of his titles is the International Visa Coordinator.
Absolutely.
At Howard University, saying it's possible.
Oh yes, all the time.
And what are some of the things that your budget need to show that you can cover? If basically when you're talking about the student's budget or the school's budget.
You have to show that you're capable of paying the tuition for the semesters. Howard University has 2 semesters. You have to show that you are capable of living, personal expenses, books, stuff like that.
Is it possible to have a family member to vouch for you, saying that they would be able to do it instead of you?
That is correct. You can do that.
So I might not be able to have all of the money, but I have a family member who can commit.
Like you said, you were going to be discussing the aspect of a visa later on. If you are in the country already, there are times you may have completed your undergraduate program, wanting to go up to the master's or PhD program or graduate program. We will accept documentation such as that. That is to say, you have a relative in town who has a job and is willing and ready to keep you. If he or she can write a letter to that effect, have it notarized, that's it.
Great. So you can have your aunt, your uncle, your brother, your sister, whoever it is, say, you know what, I'm going to pay your tuition for you. This is my job. This is what I make. And this is how you can do it.
Absolutely.
And that's critical, because in the next question I'm going to ask is about the visa application. Let's talk a little about preparation for the visa. Before you make the application, what are some of the things that I should be expecting to do in making out the application? Because your office is not sometimes help to provide necessary documentation needed for the visa application. What are some of the things that your office facilitate, or the Office of International Student? What are some of the things that they facilitate for someone needing to apply for a student visa?
We are responsible for issuing what is called an I-20.
An I-20?
When the I-20 is sent out to the students, we also include some documentation in it that spells out certain things they need to do. Nowadays, there's what is called an I-901. Fee. It's a fee. It's a visa fee. So actually, that's a CVIS fee. CVIS stands for Student Exchange and Visitor Information System.
So there's a fee that has to be paid.
It's called
and
CVIS.
Once the fee is paid, who pays the fee? Do I pay the fee?
No, the student pays the fee.
The student
right
pays
now
the fee.
It's $200.
Do they pay to the institution, or do they pay it to
the United States government?
They pay to the United States
Homeland
government.
Security, yes.
All right, we'll continue this dialogue after this short break.
I think mainly the opportunities which exist in America. If I was to shorten my decision, I think it's a place where you can make a name for yourself in the future.
U.S. education is considered high quality, and you can pretty much do anything, anywhere with a U.S. degree. That's probably the first most decision that I based it on.
In the United States, they have a very strong business programs here. That's why it made me want to go study outside of Vietnam, specifically in the United States.
back to Reaching Up, where our goal is to help you to know better, do better, and ultimately live better. Today we're actually discussing navigating the international student maze, understanding how you can become an international student and study at a U.S. institution. I'm learning today from Mr. Ogbon that you can actually come on a scholarship. But then there are some things that you need to fill out in the visa application. Let's talk a little about the visa application. What are some of the mistakes people make with the visa application?
Well, you kind of connected that with scholarship. Visa application has nothing to do with scholarship.
Okay.
It has all to do with your own qualifications.
So you get your visa based on your individual application outside of what you're given from the school? Or is that a part of the package you put together?
What I'm trying to do is to distinguish between a student applying for admission,
okay,
haven't gotten the admission or been accepted,
okay,
and in the process also getting a scholarship.
oh, okay,
That aspect of being awarded a scholarship is a function of the student's credentials.
okay,
His or her performance in, say, WIEC, for example, that I gave
Okay.
you a moment ago, and the scores on SATs
all right.
and TOEFL.
So once you have good grades on the SAT or on your secondary school examination or your high school, whatever it is the exit.
Automatically you get
Automatically
a scholarship.
you can get
I
a
don't
scholarship.
care where you're applying to, including Harvard, Howard University, Yale, MIT, it doesn't matter. You get a scholarship.
You can get a scholarship.
That's
And
right.
once you get a scholarship now, that could go in the application for the visa.
Absolutely, and that is where the visa aspect comes in.
So let's
Because-
talk about the visa.
Yes, because you will be sent an I-20. Normally, as I mentioned before, the federal government of the United States is not interested in having you come over here and having financial difficulties.
Okay.
And so if an embassy, a United States embassy abroad or consulate should see that this kid coming to the United States is already on scholarship,
Okay.
they don't have to worry about whether or not your parents or your sponsors in your country has money.
Okay.
Because it's no big deal. You come here, the school is going to take care of you, pay your tuition, give you a place to stay in the dormitory, eat in the cafeteria. I mean, you have it made.
So that's that, and that.
And a lot of students are on scholarship in all over the country, you know, top of the line universities such as
Wow.
Howard University are on scholarship.
So the critical thing is ensure your grades are on point with whatever high school examination you have to take.
Absolutely.
So once your high school grades are on point, you then go ahead, make the application to an institution like Howard University, Harvard, whichever school you want, and then allow the application process to award you.
Exactly. Now, the aspect of visa you
Okay.
mentioned of, the problem that we notice or observe, some students who, in some instances, who even have scholarships may not get a visa,
Okay.
is because of their performance at the embassies.
Okay. So what are some of the things you can talk to as it relates to being prepared for the interview at the embassy?
Yes. For you to be prepared at the embassy or for the embassy interview, you need to at least have a substantial knowledge of what you are coming to study.
Okay.
Don't tell me you're coming to study mathematics and you don't know what 1 + 1 is equals to. They may want to ask you questions like that,
Okay.
particularly if you are coming in to study at a graduate school level.
Okay.
They expect a certain modicum of knowledge
Yeah.
of the area you are going
Okay.
to study. I know a lot of students who could not get visas because they asked them a simple question that the embassy or the visa guy feels this person ought to know. And it happens they don't know it. Said, really? You're going in for a master's degree in engineering or mathematics and you don't know this formula here?
Wow.
Those things count a whole lot.
So you must have at least some modicum of information in the subject area that you're studying.
Very, very importantly.
What about ties to your country? What about showing your ability to return? How major do those factors play?
Yeah, those are the ones that sometimes it's a function of the visa person at the embassy,
Okay.
sometimes they have a tendency not to be very interested in issuing a lot of visas. I don't know
Okay.
why. And they will ask you questions of young people that are not, as far as I'm concerned, pertinent or reasonable.
Yeah.
So, but if you have to lose that opportunity, it may not necessarily be because of, what you did.
Okay.
So, I
So
don't know.
let's look at preparation again. Let's identify some of the areas that you can help someone to be prepared. You said, okay, now you've gotten accepted, now you've gotten a scholarship offer, now you've gotten these things. Now let's talk about you going to the embassy. Let me ask, what are 3 critical things you should do?
Okay. Number 1, you need to have all your documents intact.
Okay. Have
Number
your
2,
documents.
you need to know what you are going to study.
Okay.
Have a modicum of knowledge. Number 3, and importantly, be very frank. Look the officer, the visa officer, straight in the face, because they don't believe in respecting them by not looking them straight, on the face. Because
Okay.
in Africa, for example, looking at somebody, especially somebody you consider older than you, straight in the face like that is disrespectful.
Okay.
So we tend to look away when adults older than us is talking to us
And for
as a
some-
sign of respect.
And then for somebody in North America, that could become as a non-trustworthy issue.
Exactly.
I
And
actually
that
had to
has
learn
caused
that.
a lot of visas being denied.
Wow.
Even though I would suppose that by now the Department of State ought to educate these people that are being sent out there to recognize that they are going into a different culture. And their mannerisms is different from what they should expect over here.
Wow.
You see, that ought to be the case. So go there confident. Don't be afraid of anybody. Let them know exactly who you are, what you intend to study, and have all your papers together.
Okay, so the critical thing is being confident in the subject matter, being knowledgeable of the subject matter, and having the entire set of documentation you need to work with.
Yes.
Are there times when students show up at the embassy or say to you, you know what, I went to the embassy and I forgot to walk?
This is very possible. It's very possible. That happens sometimes.
And those are cases in which a scholarship was awarded, but they were unable to usurp it because they weren't prepared.
That is correct.
Wow, so that's a big thing. So would you recommend then we recommend a checklist of information you need to put together when you're going to the embassy?
We do that. Yeah,
Okay.
we do send out that along with our the I-20s that go out to the respective students. We have a checklist for them.
Okay, so each student gets that, and,
Yes.
and from
and
that
they get
they'll
it
be able to.
way ahead of time to be prepared enough.
Okay.
Before. And with all due respect and credit to the government of United States, a lot of the embassies and consulates have preparatory classes
Oh, okay.
for prospective students.
So prospective students can go to a visa preparation class.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Yes, they are all over the world.
So, Mr. Obong, is there any side of checklists that students are actually given to take to the embassy? Or do you have some way in which they can prepare before they go for the visa interview?
Yes, we do have a checklist that we send along with the I-20s
Okay.
that we send out to them, which they must take to the American embassy or consulates in their respective countries. And there are also other facilities at the embassies. Some of
Okay.
the embassies and consulates all over the world have preparatory classes for them. And from what I have heard over the years, almost 90% of those who go through those preparatory classes tend to get their visas.
Their visas.
Yes.
So basically, there's a process that is set up by the State Department.
Yes.
And how could one learn about those classes? Would they be able to go someplace to find that information?
Usually the embassies have a website. And to the extent that nowadays you don't even go without having to schedule an appointment online,
Okay.
you invariably see those things, see that information so that you can take advantage of it.
And what are some of the visa types that students are able to come to the United States on?
Predominantly, students come with F1 visa.
Okay.
Okay. And they have their privileges and otherwise upon arrival here.
Okay.
And F1 visa also is the most difficult visa to have.
Okay.
The reason is because you come to the United States with an F1 visa. Upon completion of your program, there is nothing necessarily mandatory that you must return home.
Okay.
If you are lucky enough to have a company or an agency, an establishment, an institution that will employ you,
Okay.
they may choose to
Sponsor you.
with a H-1B visa,
H-1B visa.
or even applying for permanent residency right off the bat for you.
Wow.
Yes. Then we have the J1 Exchange Visitor Program.
Okay.
It is something that was started since 1961 or thereabout, wherein the United States government wants to bring about an exchange of cultural ideas. Diversity,
okay.
Exactly. You know, cross-pollination of knowledge. So you come here with your own knowledge and study what is about America. You are expected, if you came here on a J1 visa,
okay,
to return to your
home
country and try to impact whatever knowledge you were able to get from here. That is why the J1 is so good. But I must add that the fact that you are on J1, there is what is called 2-year residency requirement.
Okay.
That is to say, upon completion of whatever program or studies you came here, you will have to go back to your country for 2 years before you can return to the United States.
Is there any waiver provided?
There are waivers. Some countries do not allow for waivers, period.
Okay.
And some, depending on the area and depending on whether or not they have enough people at home to impact the knowledge you may have collected or gotten from the United States, allow you to stay. But that waiver has to be processed through your embassy to the State Department. The State Department approves the waiver, and now you can apply for a change of status to whichever visa status you wish.
So you can either apply as a J1 or as a F1. Are they other visa types?
As a J1, you have to be sponsored by an agency of United States, by any of the government departments, or your country, some organization, even corporations. All those are considered stakeholders and or sponsors, and they can do that. You just don't usually come on your own with a J.
So you have to go through a sponsoring agency.
Exactly.
And once it's
or
approved,
your government, yes.
And is it difficult to get a J1 visa?
It is the easiest to get, precisely because you will invariably return home.
Okay.
And since in the situation of the F1 visa, that certainty is not there, it's always for you to have to establish that you will be going back home, as opposed to which is mandatory from the beginning, i.e. the J1 visa. What
other visa types do students have an opportunity to apply for?
Upon arrival here or coming from their...
Coming from their home country.
It's basically those.
What about the M visas?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm looking at the university level. Yes, the M visas, but those usually will come to the to study some specific things, such as hair braiding, and I mean, it's not usually the university level.
It's not a university level visa. It's more like a technical.
Exactly.
Okay. What about doctors and lawyers? Somebody who has completed a lawyer's degree.
Oh, they come
outside.
They come also as F1.
They come as F1.
But most of those who are already medical doctors and stuff like that would rather come on a J1 visa.
Are they easier able to get those opportunities coming in at a graduate level or at an undergraduate level?
If you're coming in simply, I think it's easier at a graduate level.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So once you finish your undergraduate level abroad, or you finish your associates abroad, it's easier for you to apply for that visa and get through the process.
If you have a sponsor.
If you have a sponsor.
Yes.
Much for watching Reaching Up, and we would be more than happy if you wanted to follow up more. You can go to our website reachingup.net and follow what we have there. We'll put all the links, we'll put great resources there where you can find material to help you in your journey, both becoming an international student and moving beyond college or university to make life what you want it to be here in the United States. Thanks so much for watching Reaching Up.